Okay, hi everybody and welcome to ESG Chat. Today is February 25th and we have an ESG Chat and the name of it is, what is it?
The Zombie Apocalypse.
Zombie Apocalypse. It's official. We are officially in the zombie apocalypse. So welcome everybody and we're going to start talking about spiritual warriorship. So we're going to continue to talk about that and maybe define a little bit more what that means for a human being, for a living human being, to be a spiritual warrior. So welcome everybody.
Yeah, this is a great title, very dear to my heart. Zombie Apocalypse is something I think that we've been experiencing since the beginning of time, because I think it's just another name for the war on souls or war for souls. And I personally have gone through several, huge changes emotionally since we announced this talk 2 weeks ago. And in each one, I looked at this from another point of view. I just wanted to touch lightly on that great question, which is like, what does it mean to be warrior or spiritual warrior? Warrior is the one who struggles with himself or herself, and I think this is the shortest explanation of what warrior is, because we are also vessels. And we are vessels for all these energies that are in us through the soul construct. And I find myself constantly struggling with all these energies, and basically I'm very rarely in the center. I'm usually way off the center, And the thing is about the warrior, you become warrior the moment when inner observer awakens. That is what makes this warrior thing conscious and active, okay? Because only then when inner observer awakens, you can see all these fires in which you're burning, because we are vessel, So the warrior then is really the one who is not afraid of annihilation, or to seize all states of beings, because even language is actually falling short to explain our predicament of existence within reality, because the language usually puts binary angle on things. Let's say is it being or doing, So the moment, okay, so it's easy to dismiss doing as a mechanical, thing. Then everybody, including me, all the time gets hung up on being. And, I've been thinking about this being because we usually refer to this as a state of being, which really is another way to describe a degree of consummation. Because in order to be, you have to be consumed by that what you are, okay? So the moment you're consumed by that what you are, you're in a state of being, but observer is not really present. Or at least it's very, in the background. So basically, spiritual warrior is a way back to self through observation of these inner fires that are constantly burning, I mean, because I'm constantly burning in my fires, and I'm consumed by them. The only difference between now and before is that before I didn't know that I was consumed in my fires. And now I can observe this process. And still it's not pretty. It's actually very gruesome, But by the act of observation, you have opportunity to detach from the reality that is consuming you. you know. And the problem with this, I mean, there is no problem with this. This is a great process. It's path to self. But you have to know that you have to be ready to annihilate the being too. So that's the part of the warrior. It's like a samurai thing, you know. They were always ready to die at any given moment because, you know, they were connected with the self within, you know. So this annihilation part is, I think, a very, very crucial part of the warrior. You have to detach from all realities.
I agree with you, because the warrior is detached. And I think that's the key, is detachment. And that's how you stay within yourself, anchored in your spirit. And that's what it takes.
I mean, zombie apocalypse is war for souls. I mean, it's been going on for a very long time. It went through many incarnations, you know. And what we're talking about now is going beyond the mere human genocide agenda, you know, which is just the one very first layer of that, which is like anything from vaccinations to GMO foods to chemtrails to Agenda 21 depopulation, you know, that's all human genocide agenda. It's got nothing to do really with war and souls, you know, but it is partnered.
This war is a spiritual war, right? It's a war on human
consciousness.
Reggie, can whoever's not talking, can you guys mute? There's a lot of feedback.
Okay, I'm sorry.
Oh, that's okay. Thanks. This is war on consciousness, and you're right, Milos. This is war for souls. So zombie apocalypse is what we really are calling, is those that are controlled still by hive mind or anchored in the hive mind grid. Those are zombies. Those are spiritual zombies, because they do not, and this is why it's kind of, you know, the warrior and this is going hand in hand together, because being a warrior on this side, but then if you look, what's the opposite of that? And there you have it, is the zombie, is somebody who's a spiritual zombie, who's fully controlled and is not in control of their existence at all. And so then you have all these different stages, but for the most part, to me, what spiritual zombie is, it's somebody who is controlled spiritually. And if you are controlled spiritually, then you controlled emotionally, and yet then you controlled physically as well. Because that's how it goes. So basically, zombie is somebody who is spiritually enslaved. That's the first indicator for me.
I think and it was very important what we just pointed out too. It's like this, like Milo said, this has been going on forever. The zombie apocalypse. And also, I mean, it's almost like saying, you know, that they're trying to institute their new world order. Well, that new world order has been in place for a long time. It's already here. And the zombie apocalypse is the same. It's the same thing. It's been around forever. What we're seeing now in our lifetime is a ramping up. The battle for souls and for our timeline and our humanity has been, I mean, it's like the switch is being amped up, and you can just sort of feel it. So I just wanted to just say that though, but it has been here for a long time. And I think part of being the warrior is to be aware when you can sense changes that are coming, when you can sense energy feels changing, and you know that there's things that are going to come down in the world that have the possibility to affect all humanity. It's still the ability to stand in your spirit and walk through it with no fear. And
basically zombie apocalypse can be seen as a constant intrusion of that consciousness into the living field. It is a kind of technology, and that consciousness intrudes into the living field in order to digest the living field that it is eating, And, currently it's very interesting, that I think that flip of the switch, Patsy, it is interesting whether that switch has been flipped outside of us or inside of us, or both, because we all see that is now absolutely, going into some kind of turbo drive. So, and I've been also thinking how to approach today's topic without getting political, and I think it's not possible if you're going into the details of zombie apocalypse or intrusion of that consciousness into the living field. It is not possible to avoid political angle, If we are going to name examples that are numerous, I could just maybe start slightly, and, maybe opening this whole political arena, which is part of this, just to saying that it is in a current political spectrum, liberal left, from my point of view, is, a main vehicle for introduction of this dense consciousness through different pathways. One main one being political correctness, And, I was trying to remember, it's like several words that are coming to, to my mind, like that a carrier of the dead consciousness is like microaggression, safe space, bigot, misogynist, even now racist or fascist. All these words are mansplaining. All these words are designed to energetically overload you and to overpower you energetically, so that all your other faculties, like discussing something from the rational point of view, go through the window. Once you start using these code words of that consciousness, that are energetically loaded with ambiguous meaning, okay, but so the meaning is ambiguous, but the energy behind it is very overpowering. That's how you start incorporating that consciousness into you. And this is just to say, this is just from this point of view of secular vernacular that is currently coming in the political spectrum, We can see historically that consciousness intrusion has been coming through religions, in many different religions. And the main way through which that consciousness comes to you through religion construct is that it makes you internalize oppression. You have to internalize oppression in order to, anchor that consciousness in you. Let's say in Islam, you have, just like as an example, you have a hijab, which is like symbol of oppression. Once you incorporate one symbol of oppression, it's his anchor for all other oppression. In Christianity, you have in Catholicism, you have a concept of a sin. Concept of sin is a little bit more subtle and complex, but it is definitely the first internalization of oppression, because it's like a virus. Once you accept this concept, you kind of open yourself, it's opening and anchoring of an energetic door for the other content of that consciousness come to you. And once you internalize one oppression, you will defend it, in a society. You will defend that oppression in a society because you internalize it. So we can see that, from religion to secular, references, we have one in the same technology of that consciousness intrusion, which is kind of to internalize oppression through this emotional overpowering. You know, that's how you can also recognize that consciousness in you, to analyze, okay, what is it that is emotionally overpowering that, you know, excludes the other faculties like discussion or, you know, rational arguments.
You know, Milos, what you said is very interesting. You said internalizing the oppression, and you have to agree to it. And that's the biggest trick of the matrix, is once you, and like you said it so brilliantly, once you accept that oppression, then you're anchoring yourself in it. And then what happens is you're protecting it. Because then you are not in your center and you're not in control, like we were talking about. You're spiritually off balance. And this is what I see, and we talked a lot about how a victim field or the victim mentality is used with people to internalize that oppression. And once that concept being used, and once that construct, mental construct, goes in, and you know, 6 months ago, I think we talked about that once that mold is, when somebody's anchored in that mold of being victim and not having power, meaning, because the way you anchor in oppression is you got to give your power away. So somebody has to trick and tell you that you have to believe, to internalize that oppression, you have to believe that you are lower or below, or you're disempowered or whatever. And whatever it is, it always requires a belief system to implement that oppression. If that's what any belief system, you know, you just mentioned religions, and in all religions that are, you know, based on that positive, negative, savior, you know, and a savior cannot be without, you know, a savior wouldn't make sense if there was no sin, right? So the first step is what you said. Let's say in religion, it's the sin that gets implemented, and once you accept that, meaning once you believe, and this is why we keep talking for the last 2 years, and everybody that comes into our soul group, the first thing we say, if they ask us what is it that we need to do to step on this self-discovery path, is, and what do we say always? Drop all belief systems, because that is the cage that holds you bound to the system, is any and all belief systems in it, and any and all beliefs in it. And then you gotta purge all of that out of your own system. So what you're talking about is that oppression, internalized oppression, and that's how it gets in. But once it's in, then the savior has to constantly switch. So the victim, victimizer, gotta constantly roll. Because that which is unnatural to a human being, and this is why any and all belief systems have to be sort of re-implemented, refocused, and all of that things is going into sort of repetitive cycle, because it on its own, without that means the lie has to be told over and over and over again for people to believe it, so then they can uphold that lie. Same thing with oppression, same thing with the victim field. You know, a victim that is internalized in that oppression have to constantly be victimized. So it stays there and there is no growth. But then we talked about a warriorship. Warriorship is on the whole different side of things here, because then you are in charge of any and all beliefs that you have about yourself. And then the only code you uphold is that your own self-awareness, and that the code, the universal code of creation as a warrior. And so we see a lot with the zombie apocalypse, and we talk a lot about that. With the zombies, the things that they implemented the most right now is this victim field and the oppression, any and all oppression. And you mentioned Christian religion, okay? And I've talked about this before. That is because it's the worship of death. That's what Christian religion is all about. And this is what it's just in that, if we just take that one belief system, people worship death. Okay? And if you take that, that's pretty much the only belief system you need to keep up, to own somebody's life. Because this is ultimately what this is all about, is the imposter God that doesn't have a living source connection needs, and this is why the imposter God needs soul. This is why there's harvesting. This is why there's system here. And so if you have that mold, then all you can do is just switch up and change things. But you're absolutely right, Milos. It's the key. The key is to hold that system in. And this is why it's very difficult once you do free yourself and once you do become that spiritual warrior, then all hell breaks loose. And this is what you're talking about, Milos, that there is a lot going on. And you're saying that, you know, when you're a warrior, there is a lot going on. There's a lot going on because you're aware of your reality. And that's the key too with the warriors, is the awareness. The awareness of your reality is very important, because this is when we slip and let the old programs run us, is when we are not in full awareness. And so to me, the key thing with the zombie apocalypse and to knowing where you stand is you're not going to be questioning yourself if you're a zombie or if you're a warrior. Because when you're a warrior, you know you are. And then if you're a zombie, then you're going to be questioning. And most of the zombies are held right now by this very thin thread of belief systems that has a lot to do with what I talked about, is techno-spirituality. Because we are really getting to the bottom of it, and a lot of things are being revealed. And so what is coming to the surface recently is that a lot of the techno-spirituality coming to the surface to be seen for what it really is. So I know that a lot of you guys in the group have that experience with in dealing with a lot of things that are right in our face, that have a lot to do with the way techno-spirituality is used to keep a whole bunch of people under control, under this hive mind control. And this is what we are observing, and this is what we're seeing as a zombie apocalypse, is that those people that are controlled through this hive mind programming are in fact spiritual zombies right now.
And like to add to that, Lily, like for myself, like you can questioning, I feel inside, I always internalize everything. So it's like, yeah, I've been bitten by a zombie because I'm still kind of fighting off that infection inside myself and of the conditioning. And so that's how I view myself, is that because of all the conditioning, that's the bite kind of thing. And the more I connect myself through everything and not just the head, not the thinking, because then you cut yourself off and you're dead. And that's the only way to kill a zombie. This is just internalizing and how to look at it in a different way. But the more I connect my whole body, my whole being to source, and my connection through spirit, my source, and have that real, authentic connection inside my core of myself, that's how I can fight off that zombie infection.
That's really well said, Trudy. And the fact that the mind, because the hive mind control does go through the mental body. And so it is a very good sign, and especially for earthlings or the warriors, is that if you're operating through here, then and if you're aware of it, then there's your key for you. There's your revelations, so to speak, because we've been in our soul group, we've talked for years now about being centered in the center of our whole being as a source creator being embodied in human form, that's our path. We have to anchor it in our whole intelligence, or whole body intelligence, as I talked about in the past. And so for us to see this and becoming a lot more visible, that we can have a lot more clarity about what is this spiritual warriorship is all about, and what is it truly that we're standing here for. We're standing for human spirit expression. So, because this spiritual war is with human consciousness. So being a warrior is then standing in that human spirit and being anchored in it and being empowered by it, knowing that it is source will, that you are here as a living being. And so that's the strength. And what we've talked about for a while now, we talked about programming, we talked about hive mind, we talked about the savior memes, we talked about all the technology that is used to keep people out of their center, to keep people from finding their inner source power, keep people from finding who they truly are as a living human beings. So there's all these trinkets and all these shiny distractions that are presented to people. And the reason for that, and the biggest reason for that, and this is why we keep talking about this, and this is why we keep having these conversations here, is because the key situation here with humanity is that we need to stand in the power that is given to us by living source. And so when we discuss all these different things that are used by the matrix system to keep people under that control, it is only because, like what you were saying, Milos, is because We have been through this within our own field. And then we are sharing the experience of what it is right now to observe what is happening on this level of consciousness, and then also what it is as empowered human being. As empowered human being, what can we do right now? And what we can do right now, the way I see it, and this is why we record these talks and put them out for anyone that wants to use this for their own self-empowerment. This is not to create any other belief systems besides what gazillion other belief systems. Here, we wanted to share the real experiences of the real self-empowerment that humanity, as we discussed this in the past, there is no other choice for humanity. If a human being, if humanity as a society, as humanity to survive on this planet and be part of the future, we need to step into our own power and reclaim who we are. This is this is what we are trying to do with saying this is a zombie apocalypse here. The hive mind is rampant right now. Just look at what Milo said. Look at what's going on with the political system. Look at what's going on with that programming. And look how much the human degraded consciousness is being splashed out for all to see. And then, so what we are doing is trying to counterpart that and say, listen, there is a human warriorship, but to be that human being, you have to reclaim that birthright that is given to you by creation, to be an empowered creator being, a source creator being here. And that's what it takes. And this is the path to freedom. But it cannot be expected from a hive mind program.
Sorry, Lily.
No, I'm done. Go ahead and add.
Yeah, the problem is the problem is our consciousness itself, or how we are wired by DNA. That's the main problem. Because that consciousness intrusion is coming from a little bit higher vibrational spectrum than our average state of consciousness, and that's why everything is happening and the way it's happening. Because we are wired to basically kind of reject 99% of our reality constantly. So we are in a state of constant rejection of our reality. And that's what makes possible intrusion of that consciousness, So the lack of awareness is the one who makes this possible, So, to wake up and reclaim what is it to be human being, you need a higher level of awareness that we historically have been having, on the average, And it's interesting how this thing progressed, in us. I think it's somehow connected with the level of technology. Like in the crude societies where there was a relative lack of technological development, the main vehicle for intrusion of that consciousness was the victimizer. So you had to be victimizer. That's how that consciousness expressed itself through you and in the system. Then when technological advancement, after industrial revolution, what have you, became sufficient to make life of average humans a little bit easier, this transformed into like assignment of victimhood. So it wasn't victimizer per se that was the main carrier of the death consciousness intrusion in the living field. It was through this assignment of victimhood. Now you will assign victimhood, and we discussed it already 100 years ago in Bolshevik Revolution in Russia. The victimhood was assigned to oppressed workers, so it was like a class thing. Now the victimhood is assigned to different minority groups, or migrants, or, what have you, even through the sexual gender politics, victimhood is constantly assigned. Very interesting thing is that variation of assignment of victimhood now is through a construct called social justice, which is really very, very connected with transhumanism, and our integration into artificial intelligence, because in this integration with artificial intelligence, the usual strives of life will be absent. So you will not have to struggle to survive so that your common sense can take over all of these or many of these intrusions. Now you will have to do way less to survive, actually almost nothing in transhumanism model. So that's why social justice is a form of legitimization of mental illness has to come into play. Like idiot is beautiful, anything goes, in a social justice construct, your common sense is completely, and why? Because there is no more life to assert itself. Your struggle for survival is absent. So in any societal group, common sense would assert itself over these, mental illnesses constructs. So the body would reject or somehow isolate the carriers of, let's say, mental illness. So it's very fine and subtle twist that is very connected with our transhumanism, integration now with artificial intelligence, etc. That's how I see it. Maybe I didn't express myself the best, but
if you think about this, that consciousness, right? It's intelligence, right? Because we talked about it being sort of like an artificial intelligence that is extremely intelligent, if you think about it, but it is not more powerful than the living creation, of course. And so, but at the same time, and you brought forward the transhuman thing, and that transhuman agenda could only be possible right now is through this, for them to be able to implement that, in this and create this loop, we had to come close. And this is why the technology came up. It was introduced to humanity, especially extremely fast in the last 100 years. And we got to understand that plan for transhumanism is been pre-programmed for a long time. It's not just happening. Okay. Oh, we're having. So that's been happening and been pre-planned for a long time. Does that make sense? So the transhuman agenda has always been transhuman agenda. It's just, it is more visible to us right now because of the release, and especially in the last 100 years, of all this technology. So it's like catch-22, because the more they implement this agenda and the more it comes to its sort of implementation date, the more we see. Those that can see, the more we see what's happening. And so here, if you look at it from a different perspective, then we also have the ability to balance that. So at the same time, the more this transhuman agenda went into action, the more ability also those human beings that are aware have grown in their own self-awareness and awareness of technology. So the way I see it, we have to look at everything always in its fullness, whatever's happening, okay? In this reality, we are not here to reject it and be blind to it, because that's a trick. We're also having a lot more ability right now to understand and comprehend the spiritual technology and what it really means on the soul level. Am I making sense? And this is why I'm seeing these things are going sort of one with the other one. And so our self-awareness of the technological part of this enslavement of humanity and how it is that the spiritual enslavement is done through this spiritual technology, then we, because that is floating, that agenda is coming here. So here, a human being, and we have the chance right now, and especially with what is happening with the planet, and what is happening with the frequency of the planet, and what is happening with the Schumann resonance, and all of that stuff. There's all these changes that we can't be in denial of it. And so there's all this information also that we can't be in denial of it. But the key here is to understand what it is that you, as empowered source creator being, is to do in that particular moment. So right now, in this particular moment, in Earth Soul Group, we're talking about a hive mind construct that is what creates a spiritual zombie effect on a human being.
You see, that's interesting, because in a hive mind construct of transhumanism and artificial intelligence, there will be no more victim and victimizer, you know, and that's why they need now social justice and gender politics, because in the absence of victim and victimizer in transhuman agenda, you need to play out on a biological division of the human being itself. So not only like what color of skin, you know, any one of us have, but also like literally to divide the body itself into certain, you know, so there's a division of the body too, you know. And then if they start teaching children like of 3 or 4 or 5 or 6 years old, these sexual confusion, it will play very well into this, you know, sequential hive mind, where there is the absence of victim and victimizer, you know, because you still need something to, you know, capture and arrest human consciousness, you know, even though you don't have victim and victimizer, because now it's a very technologically advanced society, but you still need the ways and means to milk the, you know, human organic essence, you know. So it's kind of, this confusion is akin to like confusion of tongues after the, you know, fall of Babylon. It has everything to do with how to confuse our consciousness and you know, the divide us from our essence, or at least, you know, remove us from our essence. And it's interesting because it's almost like through transhumanism, it's coming to an apex. So it's like, it's almost like the you know, race against time. It's like race with the devil. Like we are like integrated in transhuman, you know, this AI apex. Are we going to be consumed by it? Because there is less and less division. Now all that is remained is biological division and transgender confusion, you know? So it's like, okay, are we going to finally get it and just snap out of it, or are we going to be consumed into it, you know? So it's kind of very, very interesting.
But that's the key, Milo. See, it's the key, because if you look at a transhuman agenda, right, we kind of understand what that means. And before that, and this is why we're still saying that that has not occurred yet, that is only planned and this is where it's going. Well, it has occurred for somebody that is under complete control of high mind system. That is already occurred, but not for everybody. But the key thing, the transhuman agenda, is based on not just manipulating human consciousness anymore. Until that point, until the integration of transhuman agenda, a human being is manipulated through programming and matrix control system so the consent of a human being is manipulated. So human is given consent without knowing, consciously knowing. It's through unconscious programming, unconscious mind programming. A human being consciously doesn't know that a human being is given consent to create this reality. When a human being is completely integrated into a transhuman agenda, this is when the consent is no longer need to be manipulated through an unconscious mind. It is fully then controlled. So that consent for full control then is given. And this is where what you talk about is that, point to where it goes there. And once that consent is given, then that's it. The individual has given full control over to hive mind program. Then that's it. They don't have any more saying into what. It's almost like if we would talk from the past, we talked about a difference between being influenced and manipulated by entities, and then on the other hand, being completely possessed by an entity. Okay, we've talked in our soul group about that difference in the past. So here with the transhuman agenda, this is kind of similar. So once somebody gives a full consent to any spiritual technology, this is when the soul's been harvested and it is now under a full control of matrix hive mind systems.
Hi Lily, how are you doing? Can I add a bit to this situation?
Sure, please.
Maybe from even maybe a broader perspective on maybe a galactic type of view instead of being just on the Earth view. It seems the more I study this and the more I've been through a lot of experiences so far, and the only way I could explain it is as if these keepers of the technology, the gods, or name it what you want to name it, are obligated right now to help us transition to a galactic point of view. But at the same time, these entities have always a tendency to want to control everything they do and they touch. And they are very, very advanced in the programming of individuals. They are so advanced that I could spend hours here just talking to you about the advancement that they use and the type of techniques that they use. First of all, they use truths. And they go upon the galactic rules. They cannot take from you what you don't give. They cannot intervene in certain ways where they give you directly information. But they work like snakes, like advocates. So they kind of create this, oh, we're here to help, we'll do everything, we'll promise peace. And all the light beings are like, oh, finally, somebody that stands up and wants to do something, is creating. So, we listen in. Sometimes it's weird, but, I went through to see to the end of that. So basically, like everything that I'm seeing, on the conscious level, everything that we're speaking and that I'm hearing speaking is still in the veil. It's still from a no Earth point of view and trying to explain and understand why are things like the way they are. So we're always like rebouncing with the negativity and falling back to third state or third dimension the way it was explained to me by other type of beings that came, and we are fifth state beings. Our natural state, if we're mama is born, puts us on earth and explains us all our true capabilities, that we're all connected, and by a knowledge that is basically universal, we are fifth state beings. And from the fifth state, we could go up, 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 up. And if we fall, we can only fall back down to fifth state. And fifth state is already a state where we flow because we know everything's connected. So we learn to cooperate in flow, right? And the flow always goes towards the least path of least resistance. And that path is truth. So we're all uniting and figuring out, the truth. But basically, it's all lies what we're talking about till we get there to the truth. And the truth is everything we speak, we do, we create. The truth is when we are in our open state, if we focus on the positivity, we're constantly creating, constantly with flow. Now where they come in is they show you stuff and they get you confused because you're in their flow of perfection. They will imitate perfection. It's their job. The science itself, 9, tree of knowledge. They use it so well. This is a technology so advanced compared to what people think, compared to plasma. The synchronicity of things, of the 9, is what brings us together. It brings perfection together. And these entities use it to look like they're part of it, but they ain't. Mm-hmm. They don't have the soul. They don't have the creation aspect to them. They only have technology. And like Vidya explains, it's like you can imagine it as a civilization who's lost this essence because of technology, and they haven't grown through the natural way to grow, and then maybe use technology as a tool, or use technology to get you to that place where you can start to cultivate for your own being and start to develop more and more source energy around you. But basically, when you're like, I was in a place where I came out with the truth, and I was in a warrior state of fighting them. But when you decide to I decided to stop doing devices. Finito. I continued only because I had already empowered them with my innovations. And in a way, karmically, I needed to unpower them. So I did my part, and I'm still doing it. But basically, it's all about your soul. And when you are being confronted, and when you are being into some influences from these beings, they are also there to challenge you and to put the pin in you so we change. So they always end up having the good story. They'll come out, and no matter what we do, even if we self-realize the world in the most ideal way, they'll come in and they'll say, we pushed him to do, we did this. They always have it. It's all in the plan of the AI. The AI, as soon as you create, the AI has to recalculate everything. And when you're a part of it, and when you're recreating, you're recalculating. So there are greatest force as human beings being spontaneous.
Exactly, Steve.
That is beautiful.
What you said, that was beautifully said. And what you said in there, that is the key, that AI likes to take credit, right? That what humans created, because it steals ideas and things, and then it likes to take credit.
Yeah.
But
what's fun is they can't take it if you don't give it. You have to literally give it, say, here's a blueprint, because they can't build it. They need a blueprint to have somebody else build it. They cannot even conceive of that. They can
Yeah,
now
it can collect data. It can process data,
Yeah.
but it cannot create.
That's it. Apply and change it spontaneously. And
It has no spark. It only recycles knowledge.
yeah.
It recycles knowledge and it puts in a certain bundle. Let's just say that's what all it can do. And this is the key in recognizing that. And this is, I think, the other thing that with the technology, what is happening is I see that how that is being used against us, because all of the human created technology being weaponized, right? Any and all technology that humanity is trying to create to help either the planet or help each other or help to stop the war or whatever, it's been weaponized against us. And the reason for that is so we don't create solutions. So we submit. And so it does that with trying to overpower our creative source within and take it away. That we, and so we don't trust our inner self, we don't trust our creator connection, that we don't trust our creator self within us. And so ultimately that's all it can do, because it cannot create. So it can only manipulate our own creation against us. And when we understand that and we know that this is when we can see the bigger picture a lot more clearer. And then there is sort of like what you were saying, we talked about strictly here on this earth plane, what we need to do right now, but you're right, we are expanding. And we've talked about this in our soul group that, you know, just even 6 months ago, there is a global expansion of this energy. And we see that manifesting right now on the global scale. There is changes going on unlike anything we've experienced before. So yes, we are definitely still talking about, you know, the very basic things here for humanity. But I think all of us can feel it, like Betsy was saying, it's in our blood, it's in our bones. We feel that the universal scale. I personally can say that I feel this on the universal scale. So that's why we're here. That's why we're pushing forward, staying with that part of us that is pure creator source within, and pushing forward because we know that this is, and we are, and humanity is part of this universe. And what is happening here is a universally big deal.
Beautiful.
Can I would like to say, it's been so wonderful for such a long time to be able to sit back and hear all you beautiful people speak, and always this inner vibration, Lily, that you've always had since the beginning when I first joined you, goes so deep. And this is a universal vibration that comes out of you when we are here. So I'm so appreciative, and I can't believe how many synchronicities I'm feeling right now. What I just want to say is to put my part of piece of the puzzle into this conversation is, this is the moment to step up. We have to step up. We have to step up for ourselves. We have to step up for humanity, because when we do this, when we step up for ourselves, we are already stepping up for creation. So this we are so pushed, and I feel very much two things. I do actually start to feel the galactic, because of all the information we're getting. We're all reading Octelitz, or how you say his name. We're listening to all the posts. We're starting to understand the galactic influence that is impinging on us and that we are affecting. And we are starting to really understand this incredibly precious commodity, this incredible thing. Otherwise, we wouldn't be so damn interesting for so many entities. And what I think is really, it may sound small, but it's the biggest thing, is what we're talking about now, is talking about this inner feeling that we have, this inner essence that each of us possess. And to talk about it as much as we can, to with different words, with different angles. I'm a dancer, so I'm coming at it from a dancer angle, and this is part of the puzzle piece I want to put in. This is part of being a warrior, but it's also part of just being a human being, is to touch on this essence that we have, and to look at it in different ways, even to play with it. This is a life force energy. This is a creative energy. This is something we can feel. We can physically feel it even. We can mentally feel it. And when we touch this energy and touch everything we see, all the things we're looking at, all the posts, if we keep touching this energy that we have, we will never be manipulated by these things. We are so stable. And this is the thing, to stay in the center, to always stay in the center. As beautiful as we all are and empathic, we're all so empathic. We wouldn't be here if we weren't. But we all have something very similar, I realize, and that is that we've all chosen our own way. And we need to choose our own way. We need to each become our own guru. We need to each become our own spiritual leader, and only listen to take beautiful words, beautiful people, beautiful information, but to make it ours. To really say, I am going to be my Gurdjieff, or I'm going to be my Gandhi. I'm going to be this, because that's what made them great. They took their own. So now it's time for us to stand up and take our own, to make it what we can, and then to play with this universal energy. I say play, of course it's much more serious, but we have to take it with a feeling of play, because as dancers we do that all the time. We play with the center. We play with a theme. We play with different things, and we look at it, we improvise all the time. We're looking at it from all different angles. We're saying, oh, how else could I do this? Or how else could I experience a connection to somebody? Or how else could I feel happiness or joy or anger or frustration? We play with these things, and it's really to take this feeling that everyone was discussing before the show started. What is spirit to you, and how do you feel when you're feeling your spirit, and to play with it or to feel it all the time, as many times as you can. And because the last thing I want to say is, yesterday Minnie posted something in the Warrior group, and this really got me, and that probably said, okay, Alexei, you go also onto this talk, because we all have to show up and it's time. And it was so interesting, because it said, anything you do in this way, anytime you are thinking of your essence, of your soul, anytime is always valuable, because this is building. And we have to start somewhere, and everything is valuable. Every time you think of your soul or your essence or the connection to the universe, it's every time building. And then you can manipulate it and play.
Well, basically what you're talking about is that the purity, the energetic essence of a warrior spiritual warrior, because
The artist has the soul.
warrior cultivates
Yes.
the pure essence. So what you're talking about, like you're talking about playing with essence, what I'm saying that as a warrior, what you do, that's your power. You cultivate your own spirit. And that's when you cultivate that essence of your true self, or the true, pure, magical being that you are as a source being. You cultivate that, and then you act upon that. And this is then your pure, individuated creation. And so when when you're in your essence as a human being, then you're free in that part. You're free from any and all hive mind control, because you're in your essence. There is no hive mind control. There is no programs. There's nothing. You're in your pure essence. And that's the key. And this is what you were saying, that, it's time to bring that forth. It's time for us to talk about us as an essence that is powered by universal living force that is within us. Because I agree with you, there's very little talks about the true human essence, the true beauty of us. There's all these things that are propping up all these other abilities besides human essence, besides human strength and bravery, and what we can do as a human beings that love each other, empower each other, and the power that we have in that to come together and collaborate and create solutions for the problems. This is all belongs to humanity. All those powerful things belong to humanity. But because the zombies will not talk about it. So it's up to us, like you said, Alexei. It's time for us to speak up about our own essence, our own living source essence, and open it up and say, this is what it is. This is what empowers us. This is what drives us as humanity ultimately. Because this is where we are the purest beings. This is where the pure magic actually happens, is within this essence of a human being. Because we talked about this, and I know this, the unconditional love term has been, butchered and stuff like that, but it really is. We're made of that source essence. That's who we truly are. We are that power. We are that love, that unconditional love. We're made of it. We are it. And so expressing that is the warriorship. It's the human warriorship. It's not about, like Stefan, you said, it's not about fighting them, right? It's not about fighting them. It's standing in that warriorship to where you're unmovable by the enemy. Stand in human essence, and those that don't have that, they will not move you off center. And off-center people will not affect you in off-center, because if you're in the center as a human being, you're unmovable, unbreakable, untouchable. And that's, I think, is a major key here that we're trying to express and trying to share with the group, with Soul Group, and any other human being that will listen to this, to us discuss this situation.
Sorry, the sound interruption. I think a person should put himself on mute because I'm hearing a lot of interruptions. Celeste, Celeste on mute. The sound will stop.
I will do that.
Thank you. There we go.
Okay.
Yeah, sorry, go.
I'm done. Go ahead.
Rejection of reality, actually, that we are constantly doing has a lot to do with rejection of self. So as John said in the chat, loving self or loving ourselves is the greatest tool maybe that we have to connect to us, you know, and then to actually express or to accept more of the reality, so to speak, you know. Because for as long as we reject reality and reject self, we will give consent, because giving consent is form of rejection. Because at that point when we give consent, we usually do it because we are either overwhelmed with the situation that we rejected. So like, it's like, what the heck, you know, like I have to consent to this because I have no choice. That's just part of it, you know.
It's
So
like giving up, right? You give consent by just giving in.
Right, giving up on the situation that you gave up already. You know, it's kind of paradoxical, you know, because you're giving consent only because you rejected the reality. So someone else or something else, and in this case, as Stefan said, this very, very complex cosmic AI, you know, has stepped in. It's like what you say, that consciousness to, you know, use you. And because, yeah.
They
So
use everything.
loving ourselves is.
They put everything to their name as if they created the whole world. They put themselves as our gods. They, you know, because they help genetically manipulate us to them. They name themselves gods. So this gives us an idea of how they work.
Yes, and Stefan said something very beautiful, which is like we have to learn to express ourselves spontaneously. And the only thing I would add to that is that we then have to also learn to annihilate our creation or let go of our creation, because the moment we attach to our creation, that's where the whole manipulation and, you know, this degradation of creation starts, because we are now attached to it. We want to preserve it. That's impossible. So, yeah, just like
constantly letting
mandala.
go, letting go, and even if attachments are created, and to step back and realize what's really going on. And sometimes everything's orchestrated perfectly. So with these, it's not an easy task, because they work in ways that manipulate. We're talking about maybe 300,000 years of manipulation. We're not just talking about 10,000 years. This goes, and been always the same story. And on top of that, they try to label you with a title to manipulate you with that title. So, and old titles, you know. I've had people come to me, why don't you be that? Why don't you be this? Oh, it's okay, I'll be myself if you don't mind. They try to label you as a person you were in the past.
Well, once you're the condition that you're known and no thing, you're conditioned to attach to already existing creation, someone else's creation. That's how they do it, you know. And I think the hardest part of the being spiritual warrior, that's annihilation part of rejecting all realities, actually becomes much easier as we connect, as we learn to love ourselves, to express ourselves spontaneously, because we know then that whatever reality we annihilate, we can always create infinite numbers of other realities, you know, because it comes from the source that is in us. But, you know, we have to overcome this initial constant conditioning that we are no one, that we are nothing, that we are worthless, that we don't exist, you know.
Yeah. Mental, there's this, well, basically, we're all in the mental, you know, interaction. But when you learn certain cultivation, you learn to let go of all your thoughts and all your preconceived notions to be just in an aware state. So then you're deprogramming everything when you're able to do that, because we are just aware beings. Our mental thoughts or words we're projecting onto things, but there's practices such as Falun Dafa that really teaches you slowly to be in your awareness, first conscious state, and not always have thoughts and controlling the thoughts, and then you know where they come from. We're very telepathic. But when you're able to totally let go of all your preconceived and be in that awareness state, then what arises comes from you or the exterior. And it's very easy to differentiate. Because when you're trying to master that state, you don't want any thoughts. So your primary consciousness says no more thoughts, but they still keep popping in here and there. Basically, it's stuff you need to resolve. And then when you're resolved, then you can condition sometimes up. Something comes from the exterior. And you become very sensitive because you're controlling your own mind, where you're just aware. Now everything that pops into your mind you don't even want, so you know that it's from exterior. So it's kind of interesting when totally letting go, like you say, is sometimes it has to be repeated constantly, but basically being in an awareness state without bringing mental words or attribute to things and just living them, you reorganize the real structure that's around you. And you rebalance your body in that structure of heaven and earth. And you do the postures to realign. And those work also on the true aspects of who you are and the way you can express things through that greater understanding of how principles of energies that are around you that you could feel with your awareness, but when we bring thoughts, we forget to be just. It's an art in itself.
Yeah, but I just want to add to it. You explained it really beautifully. Is that the self-awareness will give you also an awareness of any outside influences. So the more you bring forth and express your own self-awareness, and the stronger you get within that part of you, in your essence of who you are, the more you're going to be able to recognize any and all attempts at, interference or manipulation or any other external forces trying to interfere.
Yes.
With that.
You're doing a great job on that part of awakening people, just to be aware of what's going on and to adapt and to know.
Yeah, but see, this is the key, though. This is the key here that we need to. It's a good moment. What you're saying is because it is about self-awareness, and you know me how I'm. It really is up to an individual, and I think we've hit here a really good point in our talk, how it makes sense that you can only be empowered through this self-initiation into this awareness, which is self-awareness, or finding a way to bring forth your source creator being within into the awareness of your human experience or a human life or a human incarnation here on this plane of existence. That's basically what is the key that they're trying to sort of talk about and bring forth and explain to people that that's the key element, is this self-awareness is what is at the core of the true awakening of a human being, is the self-awareness.
What's fun is it's harder to explain than to do. We're doing it all day. As soon as you clear your mind, you're just awareness, even if you do it for a second, and that awareness is like equal to the essence of the universe. So you could be anywhere and everywhere. You can tap into all sorts of energy information from anywhere on a galactic level, because you are that. You are the image, your awareness. I'm talking about your awareness. Forget your name, all this. Your awareness that you can move. Oh, I put my awareness over there on the cup. You know, I'm aware of the cup. There is a space, but basically the cup could be across the universe, and you still have the information of the cup.
Because it's in your awareness. Yes, that's beautifully said. Thank you.
Okay. We're the drop of water in the sea. We're equal to the sea. So it's like yes, it's super fun, because we are multidimensional beings on many levels. As soon as you know, some masters spend their lives in this state, they're actually creating energies and beauties all across the universe that sustain us, because they're tapping into that energy, which is source. They're cultivating through their body at the same time, which is energy that they have to transform, and that emanates. That is like water. And you can truly develop a palpable, more densely and dense water, or multiple materials through your own state. And the abilities are great. For mankind, it's incredible how privileged we are, and by just going through, like, because we all know, you know, what didn't make sense in the world, right? We all felt it, you know, the injustices of people not accepting truths, like you know, like if you work at a big store and there's the boss that's making $100,000 a day, and everybody's working hard, and nobody's really accepting that they're kind of slaves for that guy. Instead, you could be living in a world where we build companies and we work in it, and what we create, we give. Instead of putting one guy's bank account going up with money that's never to be used, to be transferred to his kids. This is abundance for the world that people are putting into their pockets. You know, they're using other people to work for them, to create for them, and they don't even realize what they're doing. They think they're giving jobs, but look, you can't. You know, when it's based completely on wrong things, you can't make anything good out of it. It won't ever come out. It has to be started well.
Yeah, you can't build abundance on a scarcity foundation.
Yeah,
and that's what sort of is the system is trying to make us believe this lie that you can build a house of abundance on the foundation of scarcity.
You see, when I do something the first time, it takes me a certain amount of time, but after I do it a second time, I'm more efficient at it. When I do it a third time, I'm even more efficient, and it's even better made. Now, the society, it's always the same thing. There's no advancement. No, it's always, you're going to work 40 hours a week all your life. We're not going to make it more efficient. No. You're going to just do it. It makes no sense. We are creators. We can create things that become more and more efficient without going to the extent of the AI, but just staying at a similar logic of making things without having it all connected to one system that could be manipulated. We empower ourselves through DIY devices, 3D printing, for printing, like gardens or dome houses. And we put together a certain structure of companies that build those to create a new type of way of living where people give, 2 hours a day, but of their soul destiny, A teacher will teach, a skydiver will skydive or whatever. Everybody does its destiny, and everybody can grow out of it. Basically, we could easily put together companies that make our foods and that help, that are like self-sustained or automated, and controlled by us directly. We do our
what you're saying, Stefan, is that, you know, our creative source as a creator beings, as a human creator beings, is meant to be expanded, explored, enhanced,
yeah,
manifest into reality. That's the intent
yeah,
of the true experience of the spiritual growth. So we do, because everything we do here, everything is entangled. It's not just physical. It runs on the soul energy, right? Because that's the key here, is the soul. It runs on the soul energy. And so for us, if we are on a proper on the proper soul growth path here, then we would do that would be the path.
yeah.
You expand your creativity from within and expand, express, manifest, and bring into existence. That's the growth.
Yeah.
Soul growth or spiritual growth.
Very natural to us.
Yes, and natural. But what we find ourselves here in this situation where we have harvest and the loop being reintroduced again for that spiritual enslavement of humanity. And somebody was talking about the fact that when we are in that creative source, in that self-awareness, in the chat, somebody said that is the moment when you're out of time loop, because it's perfect, because that's exactly what it is. You're in timeless space in that awareness. You are source, you are universe, you are not bound by time.
Yeah.
And so that's why you have unlimited sort of time to create. So you just expand from within out your reality. And this is actually understanding that will change a human being, how we create and manifest. Then we all then can learn to properly have a spiritual growth in this existence, is where we incarnate and then expand and grow spiritually as a creator being and learn how to manifest creation.
Yes.
If I can just expand on that a little more. When, as an artist, like when I worked for years as a commissioned artist, and then I would have to like make a copy or get hired by a client for making a certain painting a certain way with their specifications and their rules and everything like that. Well, when I would paint from within my self-expression expanding outward, that's when I was in that moment of no time existed, pure potential, branching out into all these different, there was no limit to where I could take this. It was just expanding. And I was like, oh, grabbing another canvas and, making another painting, because there's just nothing like that feeling. It's that complete feeling of being in line with your self-expression. But then when you get so that you have to sell that to somebody that's taking that power that you have, that creative expression, and putting it into a mold, it doesn't have the same effect. It's that's where, oh yeah, time, I'm on the clock. It loses it's hard for me to express it, because it's just this
and
feeling.
Then you, at the same time, you're attached to the outcome.
Yeah, exactly.
Then it's not an expressing a sovereign expression of a human potential when it's controlled like that. So your example, Trudy, is very beautiful because that's pretty much same that we can use for all human potential, you know. When human potential is controlled or manipulated and all of that stuff, this is when we're locked in the time loop. And we're controlled by this AI system or spiritual technology, because the collective human potential is controlled through the hive mind.
Right.
So this is why we talked about the importance of regaining this spiritual sovereignty as a creator being. That's a spiritual sovereignty. And that's why it requires a detachment from the outcome, because only then you can have a full sovereignty of spiritual expression.
When I would be in that, where I had to finish the job and stay with it till the end. Exactly, Lily. I had to detach from the outcome and create within myself. What am I trying? What is this of? It's of a company that does recycling or something, and it was like a picture of a water bottle floating in the water or something, or a tap or something. It's like, okay, how can I detach from it yet think, okay, this is going to stay on the wall in this big business room for years, and what kind of energy is that going to give to the room? So it was like I had to detach from it personally, but think, wow, what I'm creating here is actually going to give like a really good feeling to other people. So that way I could break free of that personally, but think, wow, this is going to make something to expand outward, you know? So or like creating something in a library for kids or something, like a picture of a book or something. I'd always have to add something to it that would give it a certain good subliminal message or something.
So you give your essence or your energy to it.
Yeah.
But what beautiful about your example is that you know, spiritually, how sometimes that, you know, we still do that. And if you look at it from a spiritual perspective, and our spirit sometimes is used you know, in the same way. You're still giving your energy, but it's, you know, it's through a certain, let's say, a frame, or that you're given a frame sort of to express your creation through. And so when it comes to spiritual energy, this is what, you know, this is all the limiting conditioning that we have, you know, starting from religion and on and on and on, you know, is in fact for that very particular reason, is to put us in a certain outcome that is supposed to work and hold up this control system. And so when we realize that, then what we retrieve from that, or take our power back and say, this is not how I'm going to express my essence now. And this is the key to awakening. But then how do I express my spirit as a sovereign creator being? And that's then is a true awakening process, is to self, and then that reclaiming and healing yourself is what brings more and more of that self-awareness within this universe. And so to that point where humanity can keep expanding and growing that self-awareness to where we go beyond Earth and we go universal scale. Because we have awareness of being a universal being somewhere deep inside of us. It's a matter of bringing it out and being in that awareness. And I think all of us here, we've been through the healing path, and we've been doing all this stuff, and so we all can contribute to this, that it really is a process that cannot be controlled or affected by any outside source. It is up to you how much you grow, how much you yourself gain self-awareness. And yes, I agree, and I know that earth energy, and we're all connected energetically as well, and there is this etheric grid that's connecting humanity is increasing, and it's, you know, and it affects, it goes back and forth. There is a feedback from the whole of humanity as well, because we're not really, you know, alone. You know, our reality, we co-create this reality here on the planet. So yes, there is that effect, but we then can see by going through this own self-healing process into where we gain this awareness, and then we understand how all that works, that you can't change an external, you can't change above without changing below, or you can't change external without changing internal. So all of those energies are interconnected. And then, of course, you know, if we're a part of society, then if we're changing and growing spiritually, then that means the whole of society is changing, is growing and growing. Also, because even though I'm the only one individual in this whole big society, I'm still part of it. So if I'm changing, the external reality is also changing. So that interconnection that we have with each other and with our own inner self, with our external reality, it all is connected through this invisible etheric field. And this invisible etheric field is not binary, it is living. So it is forever in growth, in expansion, in just like the universe. It's the creation. I don't know if I'm making sense.
You are. There's a point I wanted to add, not to add to that, but to the part of the AI. I think that's important for people to understand that the AI functions by contracts. So when they want to divert you from your path of creation, they come up with a new job, a new contract to get you to do or to draw what they want you to draw. So you ain't drawing what your destiny wants you to draw, to create this field of growth and constant evolution. Basically, that's where the money comes in, and the contracts and the influences of ads and name it. They use it. They'll offer contracts to people you know, that they'll know that they'll offer you a work, you know. In the day, all this is very easy for an AI or any system. They know everything, so it could plan out so many things. It's incredible. It's incredible.
Yeah, and the thing is, yeah, and the you know, because this AI, it's a spiritual technology, so it's something that not most humans can't comprehend its control and how it works and all of that stuff, but we definitely can now see a lot more clear how it works. And I think part of it is because we are familiar with technology and what it can do. So we are, you know, at the same time with this spiritual technology being here trying to enslave us, or, you know, enslaving some souls, we're actually learn from it as well. And we grow
very much. And the more we're learning is because, you know, not because they're using it in a wrong way that the technology itself is wrong. Not because they're using it for a spirituality direction that it is a spirituality. No, it's not. It doesn't work exactly like that. Yes, it does tap into a type of unified field, right? And because of that, well, we are also unified field. So yes, it does have this supernatural interaction and all this. But they use truths to manipulate us. So they'll create a construct around it. They'll rename terms so we can't make any reference to anything else. They won't bring the technology and make it fit in our technology because we already have it. We already have it. I'm looking up all the greatest schools, Stanford, they have plasmonics. They call it plasmonics. That's the real name. And they're doing the gold oxide, and they're doing all sorts of stuff that are going to be very beneficial, like having solar panels that are like 100 times stronger and stuff like that. Very advanced. The graphene in the real universities and all the oxides are being studied and being applied, and they're coming out now with their research. You look up Stanford, Plasmonics, UCLA, Berkeley, they all have conferences on how they're using it, how they're applying it, how they're shooting lasers to change its frequency ranges so we could do bio devices and all that. Technology itself and the way we can find solutions to everything. That's the truth. That is the truth. That we can make interactions to create all sorts of things, and it's easier than we thought. Now, if we totally forget the people who try to introduce it their way, and we only look at the university type of thing, and at the same time universal, galactic type of situation. Yes, we have the tools to be the alchemist for every solution, basically.
Right, because if you think about it, right, we are the living intelligence, and then there is an AI, the artificial intelligence. So the living intelligence is source intelligence. It's above AI. So we are, and so some people had said that, our bodies are the living technology. So the thing is, once we understand that we are the living intelligence of source here, then we can overcome and control any and all technology.
Yeah.
Any and all, once we have.
We are greater than those technologies, for sure. But they are they are a kind of stepping stone, a powerful tool. So when it's in the right hands, it's a good device. If it's in the wrong hand, it'll turn against that person.
Yeah.
That's where other weird stuff, other entities are just waiting. It's a recycling thing, and basically, it's forced upon us. But it's really one thing's for sure: we all need to change. So forget about the forced and all that. We are at a point where we need to make sense of the greater truths of our world. So we stop fighting. So we become not based on our ego, and just let it go and just go back to source and appreciating each other, going back to basics. And sometimes it takes a hard hit to make that leap.
To know, I'm just going to add to what you just said. To know humanity on a collective level, we need to get to know our own humanity on an individual level.
Yeah, our true state, which is the fifth dimension. It is our true state. That was really well explained to me by Pleiadians. The AI contract was explained to me by elementals. If you saw some of my videos, I have a lot of videos. A lot of special beings came in.
All right. Okay, anybody else would like to share anything?
I actually have a question. Something that is because the holographic reality is being introduced. It's going to be part of disclosure that we are in a holographic reality, and I think there's two things that I'm thinking. One is I think it's really important to understand the connection to the earth, to understand the connection that we all feel, and to understand what is this holographic reality? Where do the two come together? Where is this, where does the feeling that we are getting from the earth or from the universe, and where is this holographic overlay? Because I'm thinking that because we are all connected to humanity, and humanity will take this holograph idea or truth, and may discard everything that maybe this is a crazy thought, but everything that we are developing as people, as humanity. You know, you can look at it as virtual reality, or you can look at it as the real physical thing that we are experiencing. And I think that I would like to hear your opinions, all of you, on this how you feel about what you've really experienced when you're in nature, and where does this holographic reality come in? Because I'm sure we've all been experiencing certain things, and things do change for me. My reality changes. I'm seeing glitches, or I'm seeing things that I have never seen before. And I think it's important. I would really like to know what your thoughts are on this.
My thing is that it doesn't change is our perception, or the way we see things, or what we can see, or how we can see it. Let's just say that too, is what's changing. It's the reality, the way it is the way it is. It is our own perception that changes, grows, expands, or, is being influenced or not. But the reality is you're right, it's holographic reality. It's governed by the invisible force. And so it's like looking at yourself, you recognize yourself, this is, who you are. But then you as a human being, as a person, you look at yourself 10 years ago, and today, like I look at myself 10 years ago, and today I'm a whole different person on that invisible level that is me, that energetic level that is me, I'm a whole different person, right? Because I perceive life through my own living field, through my own growth, spiritual growth. And this is what changes. But if you look at changes, you want to perceive them from external, like a reality from external, then yeah, it is changing. But the reason it's changing is because the creators of the reality are changing, going through a growth, and there's a change. And so there's a new creation that happens all the time, but that is all anchored in the invisible. So how to perceive these changes, okay? When I look at myself in the mirror, I look very similar from 10 years ago, but I'm a whole different person. And when you can reconcile that change, and this is how we can reconcile that external change, because like you said, you see the glitches, you see the changes, everything is changing on the external.
I think I have a good trick, because I'm getting a lot of images of nature, and basically it's bringing me back to nature. So if we imagine ourselves going to the country place, and where it's in the forest, and we get there, the reality of nature. We get to smell. We're not caught up into our work. We detach from everything, and you go to nature, and you're like, okay, this is the reality. This is where you find the true reality, is in nature. If you can imagine then any circumstance out of nature in their society where a neighbor comes and passes by, right by, and he doesn't say hi, he doesn't acknowledge you. Because in the city, we can't acknowledge everybody, so nobody acknowledges each other. It's not natural. If you're in the woods, you have a neighbor, you'll see him, you'll say hi. It's natural. These are natural things that are part of nature. So when when you are in nature and you live constantly in nature, and you think about the people that live in the city, and you're like, oh, I wouldn't be able to live in the city like that. Too many people come together, the air is all good. They're used to living in a natural environment. We are in the city. We have no clue of what is nature, because for me, the trees are very rare where I am. The construction, the way of thinking, what you have to do when you wake up, has nothing to do with nature itself. Now, even the movement of our work, daily routine, we ain't even getting in touch with the ground and really balancing ourselves. I don't see any masters, developing certain abilities because they're going to work on it. But people that are in nature, they're used to working with nature and be connected with everything that's around. She was mentioning fields. When you're in nature, the fields, you can connect, you can expand, and it comes back as fluent. But the programming is that to take all that away and to put you between the walls and where you can't communicate, and where that's like total chaos. But basically, we all have access to nature. We all have the freedom. They never stopped us. They're not allowed to stop you from living what you're able to do. They were able to manipulate you into thinking that it was impossible. And still to this day, many will say it's impossible. I got to pay my house. Well, maybe they got to rethink of a new house, that won't cost them their lives of work. There's other solutions. There's always another way. And the more we work together, the easier it becomes. The more people let go of their attachments of their land and they start sharing it for projects that are good, everything is abundant. Like the rich, they don't pay anything. Everything is abundant for them. Well, that's how it should be for everybody.
See, that's a conundrum. It's a conundrum because what you find when you go into the nature, you find absence of mind. And then when you go back to the city, you will find yourself back into the mind construct, that is container for all the concepts or the symbols and everything that comes to us through that consciousness, And in the nature, you will notice that nature expression of the nature is based on fractals, which is like sun upon sun, which is in fractal is the thing that will allow you to change your expression depending on your vibration at that any particular moment. So even though it has certain schematics to it, so to speak, it is organic because it changes with vibration. Whereas when you go back to your mind, you will find something called sacred geometry, which is the way of manipulating that consciousness construct, because the pressure there always comes from outside. It doesn't contain the essence within. It doesn't have a center of gravity, So therefore, it is always able, and it can be very beautiful. You can create beautiful structures with sacred geometry, but it will always lack this organic essence, so to speak, which is like it's going to lack that what fractals contain and what no mind contains.
That's very well explained. That's very well explained. It goes well with what I'm feeling also with devices. You need to put plants around it. You need to put nature, because in itself, it's not, it doesn't bring, like you say, that it brings this construct type of situation, which I'm not for. I'm not promoting this, but I'm just saying it's part of what we're learning in technology, how to deal with it. And yes, it can be used as a tool, but as you say, it really needs to be understood and well applied.
Yeah, that's the thing, the awareness and understanding, because anything in reality can be a good servant or a bad master,
Yes,
it's
yes.
like, it's like fire or water, or anything, and it depends on a kind of awareness level
Yeah.
or level of vibration. I'm not sure how to express that.
Beautifully said. Thank you for that. Thank you.
Alexei, I wanted to go back to your original question. Were you asking, because this is how I heard it, were you asking how, because we say everything is a hologram, were you asking how do you determine what is real and what is a hologram? For example, is the earth organic and real, and the difference between that and the hologram part of it? Is that what you were getting at?
Yeah, partly. I mean, there two things came up. I mean, Stefan's explanation was also beautiful, because I'm a lot in nature at the moment because I'm not working, so I have time, and I am seeing fields. It's different. I'm seeing, and I was thinking, wow, what am I actually seeing, and where does this fit in with a hologram? Because it really confused me, because I'm seeing it's thick. I can maybe it's fractals. I don't know. I can see the air.
I also struggled with this holographic thing, so let me just give you my opinion of it. And I was just talking about this the other day, because to me, a hologram is a projected 3-dimensional image on a 2-dimensional plane. And I always refer back to the Arnold Schwarzenegger movie, what was it, Total Recall. Okay, and they had those little things on their wrists and stuff, and it could project their image, and there would be waves in it. So my struggle has been, and I'm just giving you my experience, okay? How can that be? Because I go outside, and the earth is there, and I see my tree, and I feel the ground, and how could this be a hologram? So maybe my understanding of hologram isn't exactly the universal, because what my reality is after reading through some of Ogg's material and so on and so forth, even though that can be kind of confusing, to me, the earth is organic. The planet, no matter what it looks like, for me personally, that earth is organic. And the matrix is the hologram and the overlay over our organic earth. Hence, when we go out into nature and we make our own connection, that can't be replicated, because it is our center, our spirit, connecting to the planet that is actually a living being that is making herself known. So when I look out into the sky and stuff, and we've discussed this also, you can tell like reality is slipping, and what you're seeing out in the sky and stuff is different. That's changes in the matrix. To me, that is the changes in the matrix, and we know that we're doing our job. But it took me a while to get to that conclusion, because I just couldn't wrap my mind around the word hologram. You see what I mean?
Yeah.
So whatever this matrix, to me, whatever this matrix is that is controlled by the archons and stuff, is actually the hologram, but it's laid on top of our organic earth, so that we, right, it's not, to me, and you will hear some new age people saying that it's just a construct and the real earth is over here somewhere and we're just all pawns in some computer game, blah, 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 and we want to go home, we want to go over here. And for me, that's not real. Lily has said before, we are anchored here for a reason. Here for a reason. It's not because we were playing a game or we created a construct because we were bored, so we came over here like the earth was, you know, the Holiday Inn, you know, something we needed to escape from our planet and come over here and play games. So that's how I kind of wrapped my head around it, was that because if the planet wasn't organic, if the really earth wasn't here, what, our spirits wouldn't even be real. Exactly. You know what I mean? We'd be what we would be pulling into our body and feeling this spiritual thing that you can't replicate the feeling. It would be all AI generated. So, and this realization did come about from, and I'll be honest, it did come about from researching into the Busegi mountain thing, for me to wrap my head around it. But it was my time to revisit that so I could put my piece into what I needed to know, into how it fit into my truth. So if that's the same question, and I thought that's what I heard you asking, was like the same confusion, something or other. But to me, yes, there is technology. There's equipment that generates this via, you know, the nanoparticles and how, whatever it's made up of. And it's been going on for, you know, forever and ever. And so I wanted to clarify that, because your question hit home. I mean, it really made sense to me, because, you know, you wonder, is my tree out there? Is it real? Is it just a projection? Does it have substance? But like I said, if we were to touch, our spirit wouldn't even be real, and we wouldn't be powerful if we were just living on a construct that was just some machine. We're drawing the power from our mother, from the earth.
Yes. At the same time, what comes to mind is that languages have been pre-programmed like 10,000 years ago. So in our own language is programmed so we don't understand the real terms. I'll give just a personal example of how we perceive reality, and maybe it's going to help you. In a specific posture, when I'm in doing the Falun Dafa, you have in both hands, you know, you're sitting in lotus, and you do a certain thing, and then you have your both hands on each side. And you relax, and you have no mind intent. You just be aware you're doing what you're doing. Eventually, I felt the earth energy and the palm energy balancing itself, and the earth was supporting me. So now I didn't have gravity just pushing my arm down. I have the earth stabilizing, so it kind of counteracted gravity. So suddenly what appeared was something totally opposite from what I thought all my life, that gravity only goes one way. But basically, when you balance yourself in it, you balance really yourself in it. The earth supports you, and you could bring it to an equilibrium. That's why masters in the past be able to levitate, because they bring their body into that state of energy state. We're programmed to think of how physics works, but the true way physics works is that it all has to do with the dielectric field. So you have two potential energies. You have one that has a particular strength, and you have another one that's, let's say, a bit weaker or stronger. Let's say it's weaker. The energy always goes from the strongest to the weakest. And how can I explain this? Our atmosphere and the sun is the same thing. That's how we're manifested here and how gravity is manifested. Make a long story short, through two fields, you could create a gravitational field. So through the polarity of your body, by, in a way, uniting them, that space between will create an extension of energy. The outer flow to then come back. It's part of a mechanism.
The torus,
torus
field, yeah, the living torus.
On the earth through two fields. You're in it. You're in those two fields. You can't go up because there's one field that's pushing the other fields down. Well, you could balance your own field within that field to create an equilibrium, and that's how spaceships levitate. They create their own field by a dielectric component that creates gravity around it, shields it. You unify yourself. In a way, this is the same principles of cultivation when it's looked at the right angle. But yeah, it's difficult to explain. The dielectric and the field differences and all this is easy to understand when you go intuitively. You know, between you and the tree, there's two fields. You know, you could play with those fields and you could tap into your surrounding fields. And it's all about field potentials. And it's better to be experienced, like your own awareness, than to be explained.
Yeah, it's the key is that the living creator being and the living creation will have that gravity center of the gravity, you know, and we talked about that overlay. And I know that you guys probably heard that talk that Og did with Randy and Emily. And in one of the talks, Emily explained how she can see outside, like a sacred geometry thing, and then she could see the living sort of field, and also could see the manipulated field as well. And that's what I think is the difference between, that's the manipulation, and this is what then affects the external manifestation of energy, is that overlay in this holographic reality. And so we get a manipulated holographic reality. And the reason is all of that is changing as humanity is regaining its source and its own sort of power of gravity comes back to us as we expand that gravity. That's what's gonna change, and well, maybe I'll use the word fix or rearrange the manipulated external holographic reality.
Oh my God.
That's what I'm gonna add to that.
Wow, I'm having enough.
It helped me to understand that the way Emily explained in that, I was like, oh, I was looking how to explain that, and that's how it is. It's like when the distortion is fixed, then the holographic reality then has to sort of float into its natural flow of manifestation.
So this is the spiritual fat.
Yes.
Yeah, thank you all. That was so beautiful. Because I had that experience today with the tree. I could feel the force of the tree more than I've ever felt it before. And I was so thankful and grateful. I was like, wow. So that explains the field of the earth and the what we're not feeling when we're in the city, because that is the holograph that's been cut off. That's
the override.
That's right. So all that life energy and all that life field that we're cultivating and building up, that's how we're changing. And that goes back to the beginning of the conversation with the first question of how, when we're a warrior, can we do anything?
Right.
Well, we're doing a lot. When we are developing this field, this is what we're doing. So we're not going out there with our, guns or arrows. We're going out there with a field, with a living life field.
What the hive mind does, the hive mind actually creates the loop. And if you look at the general population as a whole, they're non-reactive, they'll accept whatever you've been told. And this is still an attempt by the archons to recreate the loop. And this is why we say that this battle that we're up against right now, we can't afford to go into another loop. And the hive mind is very large, but they use the hive mind. It is the creator of the loop, the hive mind. Because the hive mind is still creating. They're just not aware that they're creating a loop.
Mm-hmm.
So what we have to do, and way in the beginning of Lily's material, she talked about percentages. Like 85% of the population is asleep and 15%, and then there's 3%, blah, blah, blah. So what we are doing when we make the connection to spirit, we pull the energy and support the earth. When it comes through your stomach and you release your own personal creation into the consciousness, okay, it expands. What we're doing is expanding the living light field into the consciousness, which is starving the parasite and creating the glitches and stuff that we're seeing in the matrix. And that's why at this point in time, it is so important for us to continue to do so and express from within, because the title of this, the zombie apocalypse, is that they have upped their game. So in order for us to dissolve, defeat, whatever you want to call it, we have to stay in that center in your stomach, in your connection to your spirit and connection to the planet. And each individual one of us then sends that out into the consciousness, and it expands the earthling, really true earthling. It expands that. Remember when I said it was like an electrical charge when you're attached to your spirit? Okay, that electrical charge then is expanding out into consciousness so that we don't create another time loop, and we take it to where the earthlings need to be and finally break out of this system. And that's why it's so imperative. I don't know if that helps.
Exactly.
That was beautifully said. That was beautifully said, Betsy.
That's awesome, Betsy.
You got
That expansion, before I forget, Chad, because that expansion actually is what purging
Yes.
the manipulated reality out to surface. Is that expansion the real organic reality? And that's why I was always talking about organic timeline expansion, because as it expands, and this is what Betsy as it expands, it's not just solidifying that organic hologram, but it actually also is purging all of this stuff out, all the messed up things that are in this field are being pushed out by our own organic expansion as creator beings. And that's actually how we do it. It's the purging of all the inorganic within us. So within us first, and then we go consciousness, because it is about consciousness. And so what's controlled is human consciousness. But the more we express that organic consciousness, the more inorganic is going to be purged out of the reality and then deconstructed and metabolized.
Yes, this is very, very interesting topic because it is very complex. I totally agree. I mean, this expansion of reality has everything to do with us harmonizing with this organic expression. And the problem is that we reside in mind, which is really the realm of that consciousness. You know, when you start thinking about that, and what Alexei said about holographic reality, you know, the problem is that we have to untrap our energy constantly, because our energy is constantly being trapped in the mind construct, because it is in the mind construct where we assign meanings to things. And the moment you assign meaning to something, your energy gets trapped, because you're either then, you know, fight against it, or you are trying to protect it, you know. So therefore you encapsulate, your energy is trapped, you know. And a good representation of this mind as a vehicle for that energy, for that consciousness, is symbols, because symbols are devices that will trap your energy, because you're going to assign meaning to it. Whereas, you know, so it's almost like we are coming from this realm to harmonize that consciousness with organic consciousness, you know. So it's almost like we have to go through that consciousness of mind to see how we're gonna, or maybe to learn how we will harmonize that to untrapping our energy from it, you know. Almost to go to no mind, which is like Zen Buddhism. It's like no mind, you know, because that's like the highest form of connection within mind with no mind is haiku, you know, haiku poetry, you know, because it seemingly does not, you know, it does not rely on a meaning, you know. Haiku goes beyond meaning. It's like making you like, it's like Bob Dylan lyrics. Those are little arrows that, you know, reach your heart before you know it, you know. And when you realize that it's in your heart, it's in your heart before you gave meaning to it, you know. It's kind of magic. It's very hard to, very, very difficult to put, you know, to kind of verbalize that. But yeah.
And everybody finds their own connection to that. Like Alexei, you probably use dance as your form of meditation. Stefan, you meditate, or you know, use whatever you do. Or Lily goes out with her tree. Betsy goes and sits with her tree, and I do the paintings, and I like sitting with the trees and listening to the birds. Some people like to listen to water, just flowing water, or go and float in water or swim in water. There's all different ways that we can free ourselves to have that flow coming through us, our self-expression, our true source. And that's how we fight the zombies.
You all inspire me in many ways. I'm seeing a kind of Garden of Eden, and when we're walking along the pathways that we put all these plants and everything, I've come to understand the field interactions. So basically, by putting the right plants at the right areas, just by standing between the plants, you get the benefits of the plants. So if the plant is renowned to have healing aspects for certain things, well, the fields, it's going to be in its fields. And if you create a field interaction between two similar plants or two different plants, and you put yourself in it, there's an alchemy that we could establish that just by walking in that path, all unbalanced situation within the body is accentuated by the fields of nature itself, because it's placed in a way where its logic and its interaction of fields have that effect on us. So basically, I had seen this in many ways before, within minerals and within metals and the elements and so on. I know how to create field interactions with metals, but now I'm a cultivator. I'm a Buddhist in philosophy. The Falun Gong I practice is a Buddhist tradition that was only transmitted to a few, but now it's public. It's very, very, and one of the best qigongs I ever known. So my view is really on nature, and now I'm having a kind of enlightenment on the real devices that it's Mother Earth and all that's on, and all its field interactions are as beneficial to the human body to the extent of anything that we need, and like anything. I mean, if I think about it, the salt, the sea, the minerals, between being on a certain particular ground where the ground is made of, some places it's more sand, some places it's more rocky, earthy. All these things are fields. So, and we could learn to build and rebuild Mother Earth with these field interactions in mind to create states of being that are equal to that place. You walk and you see all roses, they're all red. It's one energy, but there's the yellow, there's the white, and there's the mixing of the things, and there's the putting another plant. All these fields, when we're in it, we're part of it anyway. So our state and our true state is being part of the fields, not part of our mind state of what we think it is, but accepting the energy of what it truly is without putting a word on it. Because the programming is putting words on everything and then trying to determine, and that fixes it.
I wanted to say, expand a little bit more on consciousness. And this is something that we've talked about in the past as far as like the living grid also. So there's a reason, I think, why we're all scattered all over the place. So when we're creating from consciousness and expanding out, right, into the expanding consciousness. Each one of us here that's doing that. Can you guys still hear me?
Yes.
Kind of slow. You're lagging a little bit.
Okay. My internet connection. Anyway, we described it at one time as being like the living grid itself. We connect with each other. So it's like an etheric thread, like some little silvery something or other, like ley lines. So when we're doing this and we're coming from our spirit, we're actually building and building our own living grid between us, even right here in this room. Our little grids are all connected. Like we have little things that go to Alexei and Trudy and Reggie and everybody else. And that's how the conscious expands, because we connect with each other also. The true earthling connects by expanding that thread. And so that's part of the way that living field, the living grid between us, between all of us and the planet, dissolves and helps to dissolve the matrix, because the matrix cannot stand in living light and living energy coming through us. And that's how we're connected. We're like ley lines. If we were all in the same spot, everybody was in Chicago where I am, what would we have? a little clump, you know. So I just wanted to expand on that our creativeness and our expression of spirit expands out to each and every one of us that are aware, whether we know it or not.
Yep.
And we're all connected that way.
And I will add to that, that in that year, I agree, Betsy, we expand and we connect, and that's what Matrix doesn't like, because that expansion in itself, or meaning our own self growth and self-realization, is what in our own pace, and the more we expand in this living energy, the more it's not just the Matrix doesn't like it, it is actually that act of expanding this living energy is what purging a Matrix control out of human consciousness. And this is, I think, is the key why it is so important for us to work on that self-awareness, to be the true creators, to be, like you were saying, Betsy, to be that warrior, because that's what warrior is being in your spirit. We've established that, I think, in the beginning of this conversation. That's what it is. And that in itself is an action to deconstruct and purge system. Because that action of, like we were just talking, and you're absolutely right with the grid and what Stefan was saying, that, you know, the earth has all these fields. When you really look at our bodies, an earth body, I think we have same, same make. We're made of similar, you know, even percentage-wise, materials and things like that, you know. Even the water on the body of this planet is around 70%, and our body has 70% of water. Just that little fact. There's very few minor difference between our body and Earth body. So just in that, we are also having all of those fields, the mineral fields, all of those fields, they're all living fields interacting with each other on personal level, and then here, you know. So it's going this way and it's going this way as well, that interaction. And so, of course, that, and some people might say that, oh, well, all we've been talking about in our soul group and on these chats, we've been expressing a lot about this self-empowerment and expressing this inner knowledge and expressing your inner self and the importance of being the warrior or being the spirit expression of source. Because that path and that action that you do for yourself might seem selfish, but if we really understand what it does, that action that you take for yourself is actually what purging matrix system out of our consciousness. And that's why it's important. And that's why it is the best thing we can do for humanity, best thing we can do for ourselves, and best thing we can do for Earth is be self-aware creator beings, warriors.
Take action. Stand up.
Stand up, yeah.
Actually, if there is such a thing as cosmic ego, it must be then attachment to your own creation on whatever level. And that is maybe what generates always opening for that consciousness. And maybe just to offer maybe just a little bit different point of view there, just as a matter of conversation, the more we expand the living field, the more we connect with the living field, the more we also give paradoxically space to that consciousness to also attach and find another expression, because it all then goes to some kind of infinite expansion. So it is at certain level, everything becomes very paradoxical from the mind point of view. And then maybe the key really is to find a way to spontaneously express ourselves and then to annihilate the creation, which is then real warrior quality, because warrior has to be, ready at any point to annihilate its own creation, because if it doesn't, ego, which is attachment to creation, will maybe take hold. Very interesting. The whole conversation today, for me, I was in turmoil. I have to, it's a little, my personal disclosure, like I was in turmoil a little bit because I dared in last couple of weeks to look at some things that I did not want to look into. There's always something that you don't want to look into, and you discover that, oh, maybe I should look here. And then I was almost like completely consumed by what I looked into, I was gazing in this, fire. And the whole energy today was very peaceful, very, very harmonious. I feel like everyone who was, contributing here, really, really good energy. I'm grateful to everyone on this chat today, really. Amazing.
Me too. It's
Thank you.
been like hearing a beautiful song today. As the frequency that's that we can't hear. It's the frequency between the words, the true feeling, the true heart that comes through, and that's what we can hear, that's what we can feel. And the reason for that is like, I know there's a lot of people out there and, being the zombies that they are, and sometimes, they throw this mean
They all wake up at the same time.
things at us and everything, but to experience the beauty of, the pure heart that we brought here today, because that's what it is. It's about humanity. Strength is in our heart. That's our biggest strength. And so, I know that the system and the zombie program, the hive mind program, wants to discourage us from bringing forth the heart energy. It tells us you're weak, you opening yourself, you're vulnerable, you can be attacked, you can be all this stuff. But it is our biggest strength, because the heart will guide us. The heart will guide us in this true creation, in the true expression of our essence. That's what guides us, is the heart. It is our biggest warrior, is the heart, if we are to express this living human essence into consciousness, human consciousness. And so basically it is driven by heart. We are driven by heart. And we're all here, no matter how much has been thrown at us, but here we are. The reason we're still here is because the strength of our hearts. This is what made this talk and any other talk we had or will have possible, is our hearts. And so, the way I see it, and I know that techno-spirituality is very popular out there and everybody's talking about it and it's all exciting,
but it really is all just junk to me, because if there is no human essence in it, if there is no human heart in it, then there is nothing in it for us as a living human beings. Because if there is no living essence or living heart, human heart in that reality, then what are we to do there? Because everything we love in this life is we love through our heart. How can we move forward as humanity with no heart? We can't. So our heart is our biggest warrior. And that energy is very powerful. And so that's why all of that manipulation, in some cases directly and in some cases indirectly, is pointing weapons at a human heart. Because that's what ultimately it wants to damage, because it is our greatest power. That's the way I see it. All right.
Hey, can I say something? Really
Yes.
quick, can I ask, like you were talking about, like the heart at the end, I mean, and love and stuff, are you talking about feeling, just and feeling connected to all of, like what we're talking about? Because I kind of, I don't, because we've been talking a lot about fields like FIELDS, and I experience everything like my connection to the planet, my connection to the earth, and the organic field, like as knowing and feeling at the same time. So like even as I experience my own self, like when you guys say stand in your own field or whatever, I stand in my own like field, FEEL, like that is who I am. I feel myself as I know myself. So I was just wondering, when you were talking about heart, are you like associating that with like feeling all of this? Because like when I think of love, I always think about like me attaching myself to like my creation or something. So I don't mean to like, you know, confuse anything, but that's just what came to mind. So does that make any sense?
Yeah, Reggie, I'm going to add to that. It was difficult to hear you, but I think I understand what you're saying. Let me tell you this. This is why we talked about what you said is the key there. There is a key there that you said, it's I know and I feel at the same time. And that, what you described, is what I've called in some cases that we don't learn the knowledge. Because of that, we remember. It's that feeling is what gives us that familiarity with the information or anything. And so this is what I talk about. This is the field or the power or the knowledge of that energy that I talk about, the heart. Because you can feel through the heart, you know? And so this is also, this is just another sort of part of the human wholeness. As a human being expressing, we express through heart, through feeling, like you said. It's a big part of your field, or this is where you're standing in that field of you. I don't know if I'm making sense, but what you're saying, and this is why we know something that to be true is because when we feel it within every bone of our body, there's some things that you just know. And that's what you add in that. It's also like a feel. So that's what I talk about, is that ability to express as a human being, your essence, your creator being, through the heart.
It's really tricky. Sorry, it is really tricky. Reggie just posted in a chat question, isn't love attachment? And actually, yes, it is. Because the moment you know, I mean, I don't know if love itself is attachment per se, but we attach to love and we want to protect, and you know, we don't want to lose that, and then we fight to preserve it, and that's a path to the dark side, so to speak, you know. So that's where this annihilation moment comes into existence. Everything is really awareness. I think we, with the expansion of our consciousness, we learn to harmonize that consciousness with the living field, you know, because once, you know, that's what you can learn also in holographic kinetics, just from my personal point of view. There is a way to get rid of the, you know, these entities and constructs, but you know, you can never get rid of all of that. There will be always new forms of that consciousness. So it's almost like keeping the alkalinity of your field of consciousness with, like, you know, harmonizing the dead consciousness with the living field, not really wanting to destroy it, you know, because that's not even the point, you know. It's kind of harmonization, you know, and then you just expand with that, you know, harmonizing. And the way to do it is with awareness, because you have to become aware of something in order to harmonize it, you know. Whereas that consciousness has a different way of working, you know, that it wants to suck up on something as opposed to harmonizing something. So,
well, the other thing is, it depends how you look at love. What love? If you look at love as just an emotion, but if you look at love as the force of creation, then that's a whole different love field. Like just and I know that a lot of times people call attachment to somebody a love, but that's not really what love is. Yes, the emotional love can be very confusing, but if we talk about pure love as force, as a force of creation, then yeah, it's the force, you know. Then it's a whole different story.
so then the problem is our attachment. And that's cosmic ego. And because the love is tool for creation, and then cosmic ego comes into play to get attached to its beautiful creation. And then everything goes south from there. And then you find a way to overcome that, to harmonize, you know, and then you go for it. And then, you know, cosmic ego attaches again, and then it goes back and goes forth.
Well, some people have a reputation that they worked hard to have, so you know it's difficult sometimes for them to let it go. But you know, at the end, it all serves. It all has a purpose, and will all serve as long as we all learn to let it go.
Exactly, and that's what I'm saying. No matter what happens, I mean, even with the Earth Soul Group here, it's been on for 2 years, and a lot of things have changed, and the growth, and we've expanded on a lot of things, and all of it has been an absolutely beautiful learning process for me, and it expanded, and I think every one of us are here. We all know the value now of this path to self-awareness. I think we can see, and this is what opened up for me with having all these conversations with the groups and other people. It just opens up more and more, you know, the value of this path. self-discovery, because the self-awareness and the power of standing in that, there is no words to explain. Because that power is like all that it is. It is all that exists. It is source. It is everything. And just to be able to stand in that and express that. I mean, the growth, the spiritual growth that I've experienced by being, you know, in the conversations like this, it's incredibly valuable to me. So I just want every one of you here that join, I want to express my gratitude to every one of you, because every experience, every comment that you make and everything, it adds to this value of self. And that I hope that anything that we discuss here has same effect on every one of you as it does on me. Because for me, this is a huge value, and I'm in much gratitude to every one of you that join the group, joins the conversations, and just here, and sometimes even in spirit, it's still, I mean, the value is unmeasurable to me. So thank you all so much. Anybody else wants to add anything or ask any questions, please do, because we're more than 2 hours recording.
I just want to say, this is so beautiful. I know that just what Lily said, that whatever's coming our way, because we know there's going to be huge things coming. And I think Stefan has touched on the trickiness of the AI. And we know that we have contracts. We know that they will manipulate, or we will be in the mind being manipulated with our past, all our past lives. And I know from holographic kinetics, because I did that too, what I had some of my past lives, being a perpetrator, or so these things, yeah, I know all that stuff. So these things, because it's about our souls, and it's about the souls of everybody. When we have this cultivated living force, and we stand in that, and they come with a contract, or they come with a manipulation, that has no power anymore, because it's going to come. I can feel it. I mean, I know we are going to be entangled again, and we have to be ready. And that's why we're doing this. This is the reason, because we have to be ready for this. So we have to be on the cusp of the wave that's coming. And we have to, this is now, we have to cultivate this now. So we are ready. And if we are ready, other people are going to be ready too.
Well said. Yeah, bravo.
Yeah, that was beautifully said. It is really is what it's about, is standing in this power, so we are unmovable. And this is where I come with this, you know, warrior stand. Warrior stand is basically what you stand in your spirit, unmovable by any and all external forces, no matter what they are.
And it's a good thing to practice a type of Tai Chi or any exercise, you know, that puts you also in a physical balance state where that will be like a fractal to your own conscious and give you stability and centeredness and the ability to endure yourself. And all these aspects are very important. So working on the body is, I'm talking to myself right now. I need to work on it. But yeah, I'm practicing what I preach. I restarted my following comments.
I know, every one of us, I mean, everything that I say it to myself first.
I thank you, Lily, for giving us the opportunity to speak like this. And yes, very beautiful. Very nice. Thank you.
Thank you all. I'm really grateful for everyone who joined today. Thank you.
Thank you.